This is Dom Bettinelli, the CEO of SQPN, with a brief but very important message. For more than a decade, SQPN has produced the Catholic faith and pop culture podcasts that you love. We're a non-profit organization, so it's only your generosity that lets us carry out our mission. We haven't run a fundraiser in 2 years, and that's why we need to ask for your help right now. Please make a pledge of whatever amount you can afford to help us continue providing your favorite podcasts, as well as exciting new ones we have planned. To make your pledge and find out about the free thank you gifts we'd like to send you, visit sqpn.com/give. That's sqpn.com/give. Thank you for your generosity. May we hear from you today? You're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, episode 100.
Don't be scared. All of this is new to you and new can be scary. When people need help, I never refuse. There's this moment when you're sure you're about to die, and then you're born. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Ta-da! Ooh. Should be fine.
Woohoo! Woohoo! I am Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, where for the past 100 episodes, we've been discussing everything about the hit BBC series Doctor Who, and for many more, we hope, with your continued help and support and patronage and listenership. Today we're discussing Kerblam, which just seems like very festive for our 100th episode.
Yeah.
So, Kerblam. Joining me today on the panel are Father Corey Stika. Hi, Father Corey.
How's it going?
And Jimmy Aiken. Hi, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for making it to 100 episodes with me here on The Secrets of Doctor Who.
It's been a long slog, just slaving over the microphones to get here.
I remember our very first episode was the first Peter Capaldi episode, so we've been at this a while.
It was, yes. I mean, what, two seasons, but like 5 years or something. Well, I think it's 4 years actually. Is more like it, but yeah. So and of course, it almost goes without saying, but it won't go without saying that it's due to the listenership, people who have been listening to this show, either one episode or all 100 episodes. It's due to your listenership that we're able to keep going on, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And maybe I just want to add a little bit onto that. We need your support to continue to do that, to make it to 200 or more episodes. I mean, there's so much Doctor Who out there that there's at least another 100 episodes worth, and probably a lot more. But if we're going to keep doing that, we need your help. If you could go to sqpn.com/give and become a patron, like some of your fellow listeners have. We need your patronage. We need your support to continue to do this. It takes a lot of it's a lot of resources, actually, more than you realize, to make a show, to keep it going, to do it consistently like we have. We just spent a half hour talking about our schedule for this and how we're going to get this done going into the new year and beyond, our plans for this show, for other shows like Secrets of Star Trek and Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, shows we've got in the planning stages. But for any of that to happen, we need your support by the end of the year. We really do. I mean, we need it right away, because if just to be quite honest, if we don't get your support, we're going to have to stop. We're just not going to be able to keep going. So we really need your support right now. If you can go to sqpn.com/give, if you make either a one-time donation or an ongoing donation, and if you give at particular levels, we have some nice gifts for you, including some nice Doctor Who gifts that Jimmy picked out for our donors. So please go check it out. Think about it and act now if you can, please, to celebrate our 100th episode with a nice patronage gift at sqpn.com/give. Another way you can help support us is to remember to like The Secrets of Doctor Who on Facebook, retweet our episodes on Twitter, leave us comments, subscribe to the show. If you're not subscribed to the show, subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or on YouTube, where you can hit the bell on YouTube to make sure you get notifications when we post new episodes there. And then share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow our community, reach more listeners. We'd like to double our listenership by the time we get to episode 150. We want to, and there's so much going on with Doctor Who, and maybe we could talk about that now before we get into discussing Kerblam. There's some news out, some good news, maybe some not so good news that might be just more of a rumor. But guys, there's some good news.
Yeah, well, the first thing, I forget if we've mentioned this on the show before, but this year we're not having a Christmas episode of Doctor Who. It's going to be a New Year's Day episode.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And to me, that's a sensible change because, I mean, I'd like it to be on Christmas just for whatever reason. But I think the argument is plausible that they've kind of mined out Christmas. And I'd rather not have them try to shoehorn Christmas into an episode just to make it Christmassy. I'd rather just have a nice, fun story. And so apparently that's what they're going to try to do for us on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the first bit of news. I mean, the last couple have only been even tangentially related. The Twice Upon a Time and the Return of Dr. Mysterio. Have not even really been. They've been only sort of related to Christmas.
Now, the rumor does have it, or the story that we're talking about for the future of Doctor Who does say that 2019 will very likely be a Christmas episode again.
Oh, interesting.
But that's the part of the news, though. In 2019, we will have Doctor Who.
So no more gap year.
Correct. There was a rumor for a while that there was going to be another gap year, and in 2020 was going to be the next season of Doctor Who. But BBC has definitively stated that they are already in production of 2019's season 12. Yeah. So that's good news.
That's the good news. Then there's a bit of news that maybe not so good. That's sort of a rumor, which is that...
Well, no, it is a rumor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I shouldn't equivocate on it. It's a rumor that Chris Chibnall is unhappy with the idea of producing another season in 2019, and he may leave the show after that. And even do an abbreviated season of just 5 or 6 episodes instead of the full 10 or so.
And there's the rumor that if he goes, Jodie Whittaker will go too.
Yeah.
And if Jodie goes, then the companions would go.
To be fair, we've heard this before.
Yes.
We'd hear this with Stephen Moffat, heard this with Russell T Davies. It was all, there was always, at best, this is just a bargaining chip. You give me what I want or I leave.
I want a bargaining chimp, actually.
Yeah, actually, I've heard they do good work.
Is that like
better than the
monkey?
robots?
No,
yeah, a trunk monkey, right? But yes, it's very possible and maybe even probable that it's part of the whole process of TV production.
Give me more money or I walk.
If it's anything at all, it may be just total rumorness. And I mean, there's so many rumors out there in fandom that just have no basis at all. Just someone trolling late at night comes up with the rumor. It's like, let's rattle the Doctor Who fan cages. It's like, guess what? Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker are leaving. And, and it could be absolutely nothing.
Right. My cousin's second neighbor, housewives, nephews, roommate said that he heard from their cousins, nephews, housewives. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So the one thing is, if it were to happen, however you feel about Jodie and about Chris Chibnall and, and this season, upheaval is not good for the show, in such a short period of time.
We traded up after Christopher Eccleston.
That's right. So it's true. But it probably wasn't good for the show even then. After that first season return, to have that sort of upheaval, though. I mean, there was that. I think it probably made people nervous, and I personally I kind of like Jodie Whittaker. I like what she's doing, and frankly I like the companions. Graham might be one of my favorite companions.
Oh yeah.
But I'd hate to see him go. And in fact, in this episode, it gets even a little better. So let's table the rumor. We'll see if any actual news come out. We'll talk about it. But for now, let's just celebrate that there's going to be more new Doctor Who in 2019, more than just a Christmas episode, and that's good news. So, all right, Kerblam, which is did we get a year or century on this?
No. Just anonymous future.
So at some point in the future, the Amazon of the future is a company called Kerblam.
This is Jeff Bezos' wildest dream made real. Although, I want the teleporting, robots that bring you your product immediately instead of having to wait, for UPS to deliver it in 2 days.
Two days? What are you talking about? I need immediate gratification.
Exactly.
In some cities in America, you can get Amazon Prime now. That's literally what it's called, where it's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's theoretically available in my area, but I've never ordered anything that qualified for that, so I've never actually gotten anything that fast.
I'm not sure I want to pay the premium, but who knows what the teleportation would be when they get the drones. We can come back. In fact, that's
Twirly.
sort of what. Yeah, well, I was going to say Twirly was kind of the drone delivery. In fact, let's kind of talk about how the episode sort of the subtext of our contemporary society plays in this, which is there's been lots of talk over the last few years about Amazon taking over retail, driving brick and mortar stores out of business. Amazon makes everything, sells everything, sort of sucks up the retail space. But then also there have been news stories about how Amazon treats its employees in the warehouses poorly.
And more broadly than that, people have been losing their jobs to robots for decades now. And
right.
this is just exactly an acceleration of that. Yeah. This is a future where people are apparently living in a post-scarcity society so that you don't really need a job and you can still afford to order things from Kerblam. So this is post-scarcity, because otherwise, if people needed jobs to order things, then Kerblam would go out of business. So obviously people have enough wealth. They don't have to have a job, but it's ennobling to have one. And so they have this labor movement to get at least 10% employment.
That's actually a nice part of it, which is that this idea that there is nobility, there's something in human nature that we need, that labor gives us, elevates us.
And that's also something that's very clear in the teaching of the church, that work is inherently ennobling. It's part of what we're here to do. Right.
And just not sitting around like in WALL-E, sitting in our reclining chairs, getting fatter and fatter while we play video games.
And that's interesting because, of course, we live in a society that's very utilitarian as far as that's concerned. It's just your job is to make money. You give your time to your employer to make money so that you can buy the goods that you need and want and desire.
Right. And, we are in a consumerist society where, as we see, we're recording this the week of Thanksgiving 2018. And so we have Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday. There's Giving Tuesday. And like I said at the top of the show, giving is a good thing for that. But so you give back a little bit in the midst of all the mass consumption. We just had there was a Singles Day, which I think comes out of China, which is a big thing. Like people are encouraged to buy something for themselves, all the singles, because you don't buy enough for yourself the rest of the year. But so we're in a consumerist society, whereas the idea of work in itself being good for you, even that a life without work doesn't have meaning, and work of various kinds, not just work on a assembly line, which is fine, but all kinds of work.
Yeah, and so let's talk about one thing that that they did in this episode connected with this theme, work on an assembly line, which I am not a fan of. Yeah, I've worked, menial jobs. I used to be a dishwasher. In fact, I like Graham's reference because as a janitor in this, he was working with cleaning products. And the doctor says at one point, "You're in a perfect position to find this out for us." And he says, "Yeah, and I've got chronic skin irritation." And I got chronic skin irritation from being a dishwasher. I couldn't put on latex gloves for years without my hands breaking out because I'd worn them so much. So I totally sympathize with that. I've done a lot of low-paying jobs in the past, and so they're not always the funnest jobs. But Ryan is constantly complaining about them and about work. And if I were Chris Chibnall, I wouldn't have so much complaining. They did the same thing when Rose was on the show, and she would diss ordinary life and just working in a shop and stuff like that. And it's like, come on, guys, work is ennobling. Even if it's not the best job, don't talk about people in these positions as if their work is meaningless. It's not.
Right.
Well, in one way, it perpetuates a stereotype about millennials. It's not really that fair. I mean, there's all the stereotypes of millennials as being lazy or stupid or whatever, which isn't fair. I mean, millennials are like any other generation. There's a vast gamut of attitudes and abilities, in it. And I know plenty of millennials who are hard workers and all that. But it sort of perpetuates this stereotype with Ryan, who doesn't, who he does kind of complain about his menial jobs. I mean, sure, that's one of the things that being a young person often results in. If you start at the bottom
somewhere, yeah,
right. I mean, whereas Yaz, who is the same age, by the way, is a police officer. She's a PC, right? Is that what you call it in Britain? Is police constable,
something like that.
Yes.
Please
correct me online.
I liked, by the way, in the same scene where Ryan is talking down what they're doing, the guest character, Kira, is explaining her view of things and says, essentially, we're making people happy. When people get these packages, they love to open them, which is true. People love to open packages they get in the mail. And I mean, there are even songs about it. I remember growing up, oh, the Wells Fargo wagon is coming round the bend. It celebrating packages arriving in the mail, and the doctor turns to Kira and says, "Kira, you have a great approach to life." And I thought, yes, Kira does.
And to work.
I just had a thought though. To kind of disagree a little bit with the beginning, where we kind of starting this conversation about work. I think we do see that it isn't completely a post scarcity worldview, because you've got Dan, who's working down in the sorting area where he's picking up the items. He's talking about how the money is going to take care of his daughter. You've got Kira, who talks about how she never got a gift because she was an orphan. So there are still people who need to work for money,
right,
in this culture.
Yeah, I think it's a balance. There's also a tendency, and we see this in our own culture, to have your horizons expand as the economy expands. So even people who are on welfare today are vastly rich compared to any prior century. Yes. And so the same thing, would presumably be true in this future. So the daughter who he's working for may be as rich as an interstellar empress from our perspective.
Right. The poorest American is in the 10% in the Middle Ages, for instance, that sort of thing.
The 1%.
Even throughout the world, there are places in the world today that, the poorest American looks rich compared to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the start. The TARDIS is flying through the time vortex. And they're being chased by something. It turns out it's a teleport beam, and it's the Kerblam man, which the doctor recognizes.
Yeah.
And I love the Kerblam man, she says.
I love the fact she loves the Kerblam man, because this is, you would ordinarily think, ooh, the doctor is going to be immediately suspicious of this thing. It's a corporate thing. It's a robot. It looks kind of creepy. Right. And so you would kind of expect her to be opposed. It's also a commercial thing. And given the trajectory of the show recently, you would think, oh, we're going to have this big anti-corporate, anti-Amazon statement. And we don't get that.
No. Right. In fact, in the end, it turns it on its head.
Yeah.
That expectation.
It was a very refreshing episode from that perspective.
Exactly.
And she gets a package that's been delayed. Apparently, it's been chasing her all over time and space. And it's a Fez.
Yeah.
Which she must have ordered when she was Matt Smith.
Matt Smith reference.
So that's a very slow service. She hopes she gets her an Amazon Prime credit. I'm sorry, Kerblam Prime.
And we also incidentally we also get a David Tennant reference, because later when they're talking about Wasp, she says, "Did I ever tell you about me and Agatha Christie?" Which is a reference to the Unicorn and the Wasp, one of the David Tennant episodes.
Yes,
well, I love Ryan, because he is excited about bubble wrap,
which is a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Yes. But I mean, we're all like that. Again, you talk about getting a package. How many of us, when we get a package with bubble wrap, we don't immediately start popping?
Well, if you have kids, so whenever I get a package from Amazon, I like they want to know what's in it. So it's a spatula. I hope you're excited. Like, oh, great. I get the box. I get the bubble wrap. I'm like, I'm not giving you presents for Christmas, kids. I'm giving you boxes and bubble wrap.
Because I think there's still apps out there. There's still phone apps where you can pop bubble wrap.
Yeah.
Someone needs to come out with a Kerblam version of that. Kaboom! Where you pop it and it goes boom.
Randomly, it blows up. The screen turns green.
Yeah, that would be actually good. That's it. Oh, I'll give that one away to some fun developer. Let's put it that way. So the doctor also makes a reference, some about. I think it was Ryan who said it might have been Ryan or Graham who said they found the robot creepy, and the doctor chastises him for being robophobic.
Robophobic, which is a word that gets used tongue in cheek online in connection with such things.
Yes, we won't go too far down that path. And then so they get this on the packing slip. It's printed on the back. It says "Help me." So they decide that we have to go help somebody. And interesting, the plea to go help this person comes from a companion, and the doctor's like, "Should we do this?" And there's sort of a consensus we're going to do this, as opposed to the doctor saying, now I'm going to take us to go save this person. Right? It's more of this idea that we heard about before the season began, where the doctor and the companions will be more of a consensus and more of a group deciding to do things. Which is
this is where we start to see Graham kind of come out, because he gets kind of that twinkle of his eye. So are we going to go help him, Doc?
Yeah, exactly. Another great Graham episode, by the way. I gotta say. So they get to Kerblam. They're pretending to be new employees. By the way, the CGI of the Kerblam plant, on this moon of Kandoka, that was the name of the planet, is all CGI. In fact, many of the sets are completely CGI. In fact, I think I saw a note that said it was the most CGI set design that they've ever done.
Oh, I'm guessing then that entryway was heavily CGI in the Kerblam offices. I was impressed with the design, though. I didn't know it was CGI, and I still don't, but I didn't think it was CGI when I was watching it, and I thought, wow, this is an impressive set. Look at all this stuff, because they had like this glazed glass in the background that would show the development in stages, like the Ascent of Man image, where we evolved from primates, and it shows the development of the Kerblam man from twirly all the way to the current models.
Right. And then all of the every corporate headquarters office, all of the historical artifacts, which again, nothing's wasted. Everything is used here, which is a very nice touch.
And I didn't realize that the actual outside shot was CGI. I went actually looking to see if I could figure out what warehouse did they use.
Where did they go to film with the giant planet in the sky?
Well, that's easily CGI. Come on.
That whole thing was CGI. In fact, you can see in the reverse shot as they're coming out of the TARDIS, it's just sky behind them, and that could have even been on a soundstage with a backdrop and good lighting. I mean, this was in some ways a lower cost episode, although I think a lot of the money went into the Kerblam man costumes for all the extras, that sort of thing. So they go to get a job at the Kerblam plant, and they meet the woman who's the head of people, because Judy is because Kerblam is people powered, which is again another funny turn on the head of this human resources sorts of business speak.
I kept expecting it to turn out, especially, I mean, even before they found the slime pit with the group lives in it. I kept expecting this to be people powered in a whole different way with all those power blackouts, and I thought it was an effective fake out when they went in a different direction.
Well, Charlton Heston stands up on the rack and goes, "Kerblam is people."
I was expecting to Judy to be kind of the sinister. She looks all pleasant and bubbly and happy, but she's really the spearhead of this this evil empire.
Even more so when they introduced Jarvis Slade with a name like Slade, and he's totally unsympathetic in the beginning, and he turns out to be a good guy too. And I loved all of the subversion of standard tropes they had in this episode. Just to lay my cards on the table, this for me was the funnest episode we've had this season.
Yes.
It just,
I agree.
It avoided and even subverted all kinds of cliches, including ones that have been on the show lately.
Yeah.
I just thought this was just what I had been waiting for, a nice, fun romp.
And the cartoon style conveyor belt chase really helped a lot. I love that.
Right out of Toy Story 2, I think it was. The
this
luggage
goes all the way
rack.
back to like Disney and Looney Tunes. I mean,
well, sure.
This kind of thing.
Right.
And, I love...
I was thinking Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It's like an underground roller coaster.
One thing with that scene that I loved remind me of the game Portal. They go, they're going through the conveyor belt, and then they're going into that chute where there's the organic infection detected or whatever it was. And there was the worker or the quarantine chute where it was the laser quarantine chute. That sounded right out of Portal. If you ever played the Portal video games, that sounded out of that.
Well, again, that plays into the subversion of the trope where you think it's the AI is the enemy, is the bad guy, anti-human. This was the setup is that that we're supposed to get is that Kerblam is automated and all the robots are being controlled by a hostile AI that's trying to exterminate human beings. And that's what we're set up for. That's the trope. That's and what it is it's all turned on its head. It's the AI is the one that's in trouble and asking for help. And it's spoilers, of course. It's the custodian that Charlie, the nice guy who
turns out
to
be a terrorist.
Exactly.
Well, and they did kind of foreshadow that where Graham's complaining about the fact that he got swapped in as janitor because the doctor was supposed to be the janitor originally.
Right. I know that would have been great. I love how the AI sussed out that the role the doctor is best suited for is scrubbing floors. That's something you would not have expected.
But then, she mentions to Graham is you're in the perfect position because no one pays attention to the cleaning person.
Yeah.
Right.
You just
in
ignore
fact,
him.
The doctor being made a janitor might have been the AI saying, because the doctor sent the help me to the AI sent the help me to the doctor. So this was the AI pointing the doctor at the guy who's doing it, which was the janitor. And then the doctor subverts that by sending Graham in her place.
By the way, Jodie Whittaker, this would not have been the first time the doctor has been both a woman and a janitor, because there's an episode back in the third Doctor's time where John Pertwee's doctor, in order to break into a facility, becomes a cleaning woman.
That's what I have seen. Yes. So there is a scene where the doctor finally goes in and confronts Slade and what was her name again? Janet? Judy. I forgot to write it down. So Slade and Judy, and she basically accuses him. Look, you may be behind this. You may be the evil people making these workers go missing. Sorry, I skipped the part where Dan, the very nice guy Dan, who's got a daughter that he doesn't get to see, but who he's working very hard to support. He befriends Yaz, and when Yaz gets a message to go, a pick order down in the vast subterranean areas of the warehouse, he says, "Not on your first day. I'll go in your place."
Last person who did that disappeared.
Right, and then Dan ends up disappearing, and so the doctor and Ryan and Yaz, who the doctor and Ryan have been working in packaging. They go into the office and they confront Judy and Slade, and the doctor kind of goes at them and I will bring you down. I am the doctor, and which is that grandiose sort of demands and threats. But then she kind of dials it back a little on the way out, going, "Was that too bombastic? That might have been too bombastic." Like, it sort of undermines that whole thing. Like, Capaldi never would have wondered if he was too much on the way out. So that's good. But so I really like the setup that, Dan, wonderful guy. Kira, lovely person. Like, so the human beings that they've met so far, apart from Slade, are really nice people. Charlie, I will say he has that awkward fall in love with Kira thing.
I know there's a great moment where he's talking to Graham and Graham is like pointed out, "Look, dude, you're in love with her. You need to act on that." Exactly. And Charlie is like, "Have you smelt her?" And Graham says, "Oddly enough, I haven't."
Yes. I have to say, Brad Walsh had a chance to pull some of his comedic chops out here in this one. Another time, Charlie's like, "I've been alone here a long time," and Graham says, "I can tell."
One thing with going back to Dan, I mean, isn't that like the war trope? You've got the guy who's got the picture of his girlfriend or the picture of his daughter, and of course he's the first to die.
Yeah,
right,
I know.
right.
That's the most tropey we get in this episode. Is that's just a straight through line on that trope. They don't do anything to subvert it. He's the tragic sacrifice to show us the danger.
Yep.
And we actually do get, I think it's Judy who says at one point, work gives us purpose. I mean, she really they put that out there, the importance of work. And then we're constantly confronted with the question, what's the problem here? Is it the people or the technology? And we're going back and forth. Eventually
the problem is resolved as being the people, but
one in particular,
but there's a bit that they don't pay off, which is the system has been fighting back against Charlie's plan.
Right.
And there's this, and we don't know it's exactly what's happening in all of this, but Kira, who has only gotten one gift in her life, and it made her so overjoyed just to get a box of chocolates for Christmas from her boss at work.
Yes.
Is then told she's been designated employee of the day, and Kerblam has a gift for her, and knowing what that's going to mean to her. And then they take her down to the room in the down below and give her a box to open. And you can just see her face light up as she's opening the box. And we, the viewer, know this is going to be hideously cruel. Yes. And it's just so poignant knowing what getting a gift means to this person. And she opens the box and it's empty except for bubble wrap. And it's so cruel and it's so poignant. And we don't yet know what the significance of the bubble wrap is. But then she pops a bubble and kerblam, and she dies. And and we're later told by the doctor that was the system trying to get Charlie to realize what it would feel like to have someone you care about die in a bubble wrap explosion. And so the system killed Kira in order to try to stop a bigger disaster. But still, the system killed Kira, and they never addressed that. This is a rogue AI.
This was what I disliked about this episode. I enjoyed the episode for the most part. But sometimes Doctor Who in general has this thing of pointless deaths of nice people. Like, let's make the nicest people you can imagine, and so that when they die in pointless ways, you'll feel even worse. Sort of to amp up the drama. But when people die to just advance a plot point, I'm sorry, that's not. I mean, that's horrible. I just don't like that. I don't like TV shows where people you set up these nice people to die as a just as a sort of part of the plot, and then we move on, and then we sort of just this isn't that bad. And
we need to pay it off on the back end and say, okay, Charlie was not the only thing broken here. The AI is broken too, and we've got to fix this AI.
Well, when we talked about the TV series The Good Place, and we talked about the episode where they had the trolley scenario.
Yeah. Right.
And basically the AI's answer to the trolley scenario is, well, I'll just kill the one.
Right. Which is exactly. And you can't, from a moral standpoint, you can't just kill somebody to make a point. I mean, that's the problem with the AI, is it had the ability to and did kill someone in order to kind of prove a point. And that's just, I mean, especially, I mean, it would be awful if Kira had been the worst person in the world and it killed her to make a point. But it makes it feel even worse because she was so nice.
Yeah, I didn't even mind the fact, I mean, speaking from a dramatic perspective, I felt for her so much, knowing how much this gift means to her and how it's going to go horribly wrong. And that, I mean, I don't mind the writers milking my emotions in that way. That's part of drama. What I do mind is not paying it off on the other end and just moving on as if it didn't matter as much as it did matter.
Right. Yeah. I feel like Doctor Who, for sometimes every life is precious. Like, you know, like they every single person who could die, it's a horrible. And
as
then
as the 11th Doctor said, I never met anyone who wasn't important.
Right. And then other times it feels like, oh, that sucks. Let's move on. I mean, it's just, I think the show can be inconsistent sometimes about that sort of thing. And I don't know. I'm a soft
morality at the level of plot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was one of two flaws in this episode, two notable flaws. I mean, you could pick on all kinds of little things.
Sure.
But the other flaw was how this episode, and I think it's not just this episode, but how this episode handled Ryan. Ryan is not, he started out as kind of our main window companion.
Yes.
To learn about the other companions in the world of the Doctor. But I think Ryan is kind of going off the rails the way the series has been treating him. We've had situations where, you know, because of his situation with his grandmother and his father, and his own concerns about fatherhood, where we've been able to sympathize with him. And that's good. We need those. We need to be able to sympathize with all of the companions. But I find that the writers have been treating Ryan in a less sympathetic way as we go on. Ryan is at the moment, and I hope they change this, but at the moment, Ryan is clearly, to my mind, the least likable of the characters. He complains all the time. He scorns other people regularly. He rejects Graham's offers to reach out and bond with him. He's just Mr. Negative too much. And I really hope they give Ryan some more positive stuff and brighten up his character and make him happier.
Yeah, I agree. Again, maybe the confrontation, the coming confrontation with his father can be that moment for him to kind of deal with it and become a happier person. Yeah, I agree. They did have some nice things where he talked about his physical challenges that he has. It's not dyslexia; it's the other exia thingy that he talked about. Dysmorphia or something like that. But he has an opportunity to talk about that and how that challenge has affected him. Almost a little too much. Like I'm like, all right, we get the point. We get dive in
the chute. Yeah,
exactly. But so yeah, I agree with you. We need to have Ryan to lighten up a little bit and to kind of start enjoying the ride a little more. So I gotta say about the bubble wrap. Killer bubble wrap is not new to Doctor Who, as we recently talked about.
Yes, the Ark in space. We had a whole monster made of bubble wrap, spray painted green.
So I just felt like I was waiting a little bit for some reference to the killer bubble wrap of the Ark in space.
I wonder if the fact that the bubble wrap blew up green was kind of a reference to that.
Oh, I bet you're right.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
When it blew up, it would blow up in a green puff of fire.
That's right. And then we get this the moral at the end as the Doctor, you know, kind of comes up with this solution, which is kind of an odd solution, just to blow everything up, to completely destroy every Kerblam delivery man with bubble wrap, and Charlie, you know, for whatever reason, refuses to follow them and ends up dying along with them.
And for once, this is the first time this season we've had the villain die.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is like what, episode 8? And we haven't had a villain die yet. People online have been noticing. It's like, what's with all the lack of consequences on this show? And finally we have one. So I was happy
we talked about that. Yeah, we've talked about that too. There were, you know, like with the Rosa episode and a couple others where we said, you know, there's no consequences to the bad guy.
Yeah.
He just walks away.
Yeah. Also, and I thought it was nice. It was just a visual touch. After Charlie dies, we cut to a poster on the wall that has him in it. And the slogan on the poster is "Live your best life." And it's like it's like he really didn't do that.
And they showed the light sparking out. You know,
yes, his light was extinguished. I do have to. Speaking of consequences, to kind of circle back to what we were talking before about Kira and Dan dying. That is one evidence that we actually complained about what Stephen Moffat is. That's different now at Chibnall is that people do die and they stay dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas, especially at the end of his run, Stephen Moffat had a trouble with people dying and staying dead, even like the good people, never mind the villains. So at least I got to acknowledge that part. There are consequences of people's actions have consequences. We get the moral is the system wasn't the problem. It's how people who use the system that's the problem, which is not a bad moral to remember about a lot of things we hear about today. It's not necessarily the technology that's the problem, but how people use it. And of course, the name Kerblam is a cupid of foreshadowing.
Trait name, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that
explosive bubble wrap.
Right. So were there any other things we should mention about this episode?
I had some brief ones. So during a lot of the episode, they have the group loops attached to their legs, which are monitoring devices. And this is something that's real, where there are businesses experimenting with employee tracking in this way. And it's very dehumanizing. And so I thought that was a nice bit of realism and a real source of concern, because it is dehumanizing when you're under, as they put it, constant random monitoring.
And Ryan kind of hints that the sporting goods warehouse that he worked at had something like that.
Yeah, I liked how he referred to his former area of employment as the People's Republic of South Yorkshire.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I appreciate that.
Yes.
I thought it was interesting that the moon they're on has the biggest workforce in the galaxy, the biggest human workforce, and it's only 10,000 people.
Yes.
It's like, that's tiny.
Yes.
It was interesting. We have this corporate happiness mandate, which could have been played as just totally creepy, but wasn't. It was a partial trope subversion where the corporate happiness stuff is a little creepy, but actually it's okay in some circumstances because the robots are nicer than the human managers. And actually the robots have some people skill. There are points where Yaz and Dan are talking instead of working. And more than once, the robots come up and suggest they do their jobs, but they do it in a totally nice way. It's like, hey, guys, this sounds like a great conversation. Why don't you pick it up during the break period?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's far more people skill than just get back to work.
That's right out of some management manual, like for some giant corporation, like Walmart or McDonald's, or something like that. It's in the management training manual. Just the exact phrase.
Office space. If you could get back to work, that'd be great.
Yeah.
but the way the robots do it is actually good management. I mean, yes, they are telling people to get back to work, but they're not doing it in the office space clueless way or the just mean boss get back to work way.
And they even subtly escalate it a little bit. There's this, like, they stress the they get a little more firm each time they have to tell them to do it. Yeah. That was pretty good writing.
Yeah, it was interesting, because of course Slade was just the stereotypical jerk manager.
Yes.
At least at first. Of course,
first. And I like how when the two managers, once it's been revealed they're both good, they still don't know if they can trust each other. And Slade makes that point. The Kerblam men in this episode they had kind of an Auton. Well, that was the point I was going to make, is they have a kind of Auton vibe and also a kind of vibe like the robots from Smile.
Right.
And so it's kind of a fusion of those two.
That's true.
There is a line the doctor had when she's confronting the managers and saying, we need to escalate this to higher authority. And they're going, well, we are the higher authorities. And the doctor says, then you better be worthy of the jobs you're holding.
Yes.
And I can't put my finger on why I like that line so much, but she's not challenging that they're the highest authorities here. And she's not dissing them, but she's calling them to be what they need to be.
Yeah, it's about executive, corporate executives have a responsibility, not just to the shareholders or the owners, but to the employees that report to them. They have a communal or societal responsibility. I like that, a duty of care. as the 12th Doctor would have put it.
I then like that Judy is the first one to rise to the challenge, and when the robot comes in to get Charlie, it's Action Judy, senior executive, and she rips its head off right there. That was great. And then she ripped another one's head off, and I started thinking, aren't these robots a little fragile if you can just rip their heads off like that, and they're meant to teleport all over the universe?
Right.
I can imagine a bunch of drunk guys in college ordering pizza and then ripping a robot's head off when it delivers the pizza and playing soccer with it.
Sadly, I can imagine that.
Yeah, I liked it when the Doctor has booted up Twirly, and she's framing the job she needs Twirly to do in terms it can understand, because its function is to deliver stuff. So okay, you're gonna deliver the information to us, and then it gets on board and can understand what it's supposed to do. I like that. I also like when she tells it to, because it's trying to upsell her on stuff. And she says, look, cancel all these protocols. And it's like, even the upselling ones? Yeah. As someone who absolutely hates upselling and does not respond to it well when confronted with it, I love that. I then loved how when later, when they're in an emergency situation and she goes to pick up Twirly, Twirly says, customers with your medical symptoms browse low blood pressure medicines.
Yes, that's right.
Finally, I really liked the bit where they're thinking for a moment that the system is the problem, and that it's trying to actively kill all of the customers. And Graham gets to say, Kerblam's trying to kill their own customers? That's the worst business plan I've ever heard. Which, of course, it is.
That's right. Yeah, those are some good moments, some good bits. Father Corey, anything more on
just
on
a couple behind the scenes. Looking at IMDb, we've got a couple of Broadchurch alums in this.
Yeah.
So the voice of Kerblam was played by Matthew Gravel, and he was Joe Miller on Broadchurch. He was one of the residents on Broadchurch. But he also, for those of us who are Catholic, the Rona Downey series, The Bible, and then the movie The Son of God, he was Doubting Thomas in that.
Interesting.
St. Thomas. And then Judy Maddox was played by Julie, and I'm sorry, I'm going to probably completely destroy her name, but Julie Hesman Hall. She was in season 3 only, Trish Witterman in season 3 of Broadchurch.
She was Trish. Jimmy, we can't hear your voice. Sorry
about that. I knew I'd seen her before, and I like her much better in this than as Trish.
Yeah,
see, I haven't seen season 3
her hair was
yet,
different.
So.
Yeah, her hair is grayer in this one. But that.
So a couple.
I was totally doing that. Where have I seen her before?
Yeah, a couple of Broadchurch alums. And I just want to say, since this is our 100th episode, I want to thank Father Roderick. He is the one who got this ball rolling 100 episodes ago. I was going to mention at the beginning, and I forgot. So, Father Roderick, if you happen to listen to this, thank you very much. We really appreciate what you got started here, and hopefully you're proud of what we've got going.
And one of our other original panel members, Stephanie Week, who dropped off there for a while, we also had her on, and so I just want to recognize Stephanie's contributions. By the way, one more behind the scenes thing. I looked up the writer on this episode. I forget his name at the moment, but if you look at his Wikipedia page, it talks about his involvement in this Doctor Who episode. And he's written a number of things that are apparently have won awards and stuff. But he said, my entire writing career was a scam to let me write for Doctor Who, and it finally paid off. That's awesome. Yeah, I think every British actor and writer, their ultimate goal is to eventually end up on Doctor Who somehow, and they're working on it. So I did want to mention one other thing I saw online that's Doctor Who related, behind the scenes thing. There was a great video that the Doctor Who production put out, a behind the scenes video of the cookie situation or the biscuit situation on the set, and they had the Jodie and Tosin and Mandeep and Brad all talking about like all of the cookies that are always available everywhere on set, and the different kinds, and everybody's eating them, and it's become a real problem for the crew and the cast because they're always eating all these cookies. And Brad Walsh has this great moment where he says, "Yeah, Tosin treats his body like a Greek temple. I treat mine like a Greek restaurant." How he eats all these cookies, and so it's a funny little video if you get a chance to check that out online. I'll see if I can find the link to it again. But if you go to the Doctor Who YouTube channel, I'm sure it's there. So okay, great. So we also have some feedback. I don't want to forget the feedback. We had some general feedback from John Scrivo, who wrote an email. He said, I just became a patron. Thank you, John, for becoming a patron. You too can become a patron by going to sqpn.com/give. Thank you. And he says, I hope you get many more. We do too. I'm listening more weekly to Secrets of Doctor Who, Star Trek, Jimmy's Mysterious World. I almost wish for a longer commute to work so I could listen more. Now
that's a good compliment.
That's a big compliment, because I know what a long commute to work is like. General impressions of the new season 13, Jodie Whittaker, is very likable, and the chemistry with the companions is great. Monsters are in need of improvement, although my 5-year-old daughter liked the short clip of the pating I showed her.
I have to say I've warmed to the pating over time.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Someone pointed out that the pating was like my younger son when he was about 3 or 4. So he asked, "What do you think of the starting age and first episode of Doctor Who should be for kids to introduce them to Doctor Who?"
Oh, I think it depends on the kids.
Yeah,
kids have really different tolerances for hide behind the couch stuff.
Yeah,
my 7-year-old would be much more tolerant than my 11-year-old, for instance.
See, I think back for myself, I was probably about, again, this is classic Who, not modern Who, but classic Who. I was probably about 11, 12, 13. I don't think I was quite teens yet. Maybe 10 to 12, somewhere in there is when I first was introduced to Doctor Who.
So this could probably be a whole episode in itself, that discussion.
Yeah.
We've talked about this for Star Trek as well.
Yeah.
But in general, I'd say classic Who is probably more amenable to younger kids than new Who.
Mm-hmm.
Although it depends. It's going to be slower paced than modern stuff. So it'll be less intense. The special effects will not be as realistic. So given what modern
which could be
kids,
helpful.
Well, exactly, which modern kids could find helpful, it'll be less scary for them. Having said that, I forget how old I was, but I watched when Tom Baker was first on the air here. I was not, I don't know, I was somewhere between 8 and 12, I would guess. And my first episode was Giant Robot with this King Kong like robot, and my second episode was Ark in Space with the bubble wrap monster and people turning into wasps. And so that was pretty creepy. Yep. But it was fine. I was fine with it.
So we'll come back to this topic. I think
we need to think about it. Yeah.
And then he adds, as a patron, I feel the need to say that I actually like Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I hope you don't think less of me because of it. Part of it might be because I know. No. He is a patron.
De gustibus non disputandum est.
Exactly. Part of it might be because I know 9-year-old me would have been all over a dinosaur sci-fi adventure. Without all the goofy extra characteristics, it would admittedly have been better. I feel better now that I've made that confession. Father Corey, can you give him Doctor Who Absolution?
Yeah,
I think we can do that. So.
Okay. So, and the thing is that's a good point. There is something for everyone. There are people who like the Moon Egg episode, and that's fine. I mean, it's okay for us to have different tastes and things.
Yep.
Different.
Yes.
You like a doctor that I don't, and I like a companion that you don't. It's okay. That's very common these days in a lot of fandoms for people to get all freaked out that people have different tastes. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fine. Just like what you like, and then there's something else for someone else.
Yeah, and we don't expect everybody to agree with us. We don't agree with each other.
Exactly.
Oh, definitely.
So if what we're saying is something that is entertaining and offers a different perspective, great. But we don't expect anybody to agree with us. This is just three guys talking about a sci-fi show.
Exactly. So thank you, John. We still like you, even though you like Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. So, and then we have another piece of feedback from Andrew Wilson. He's feedback on Demons of the Punjab. And he said, I've just listened to Secrets of Doctor Who 99, and I must say I'm fully impressed with your analysis of the episode. One question that was raised was the location of the filming of the episode. It was, in fact, Spain, as speculated.
Right. You were right, Dom.
But this time, mainland Spain. The initial TARDIS landing was a shot across the Parque Nacional de Sierra Nevada in the Granada province of Andalusia, southern Spain.
Wait. The Sierra Nevadas are here in California.
The originals that the California ones are a copy of.
They sent all the way across the ocean. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, apparently someone copied the Sierra Nevada and brought them to
pasted them over in California.
Yes, exactly. One of the most beautiful locations, in my opinion, in Western Europe, and the filming brought this delightful location to life. Well, thank you, Andrew, for letting us know and putting another item on my bucket list of beautiful places in the world to go see. Because you're right, it was a wonderful location, a beautiful spot.
And the way they shot it with the use of light was really impressive.
Yep.
Yes, very nice. All right, so I think that's it from us. So, folks, what do you think of Kerblam? What did you think of the episode? What did you think of what we had to say about it? Let us know by going to sqpn.com or the Secrets of Doctor Who Facebook page and leave us some feedback on this episode there. Or you can send us an email to drwho@sqpn.com. You can find links to all our personal social media and websites on our show notes on sqpn.com. And we'll be back next time when we'll be discussing The Witchfinders. Until then, Jimmy Aiken, thank you for joining me in sharing the Secrets of Doctor Who.
Thank you, Dom.
Father Corey Stika, thank you as well.
I'm glad to be here, and thank you, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Doctor Who on StarQuest. And remember, if you want it, Kerblam it.
Right. This is going to be fun.
This is Dom Bettinelli again. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast and that you'll help us keep producing the podcast you love. Thank you for your generosity. To make your pledge and find out about the free thank you gifts we'd like to send you, visit sqpn.com/give. That's sqpn.com/give.